Denial. D.E.N.I.A.L. Don't even notice I am lying. My interpretation of the 12 steps of recovery, I believe, is in a significant order for a reason. Obviously, step one is admitting powerless over addictions. An addiction is an addiction. I admitted I was powerless over addiction and that my life had become out of control. Alcohol and drug addiction are death-induced diseases. An active continuation of this disease without recovery will most assuredly result with one of three outcomes: an insane asylum, penitentiary, or death. Step one is step one because it needs to be the first step. We have to start somewhere. Admitting we have problems and our life is unmanageable as a result of them is a good beginning. Early we are taught in society to be self-sufficient and to have self-confidence. The Bible teaches us to have self-control. We are commanded to be self-controlled. 1 Peter 1:13. Prepare your minds for action. Be self-controlled. Proverbs 25:28. Like a city whose walls are broken down is a man who lacks self-control. As we move on in our adolescent lives, we become introduced to life on life's terms. Our minds can become confused. We face so many options. We make choices, some good and some bad. Then things happen. Things that we aren't given choices for. We become disillusioned and impatient. Stress builds. A whole new mountain of obligations, responsibilities, and necessities begin to bring an army of emotions at us. Impatience, discouragement, frustration, agitation, anger, fear, depression. We try to look for escapes. We desire a sense of peace or relaxation or enjoyment. We suddenly become firemen, trying to put out one fire after another, searching for the quick fixes. We look for sedatives to be able to adapt. Little by little, our self-control begins to erode. As our control erodes, so does our self-disciplines. My mother once told me to live one day at a time and make it a masterpiece. How do we do that? Before we know, we become alcoholics or drug addicts. One of my most difficult parts of step one wasn't to admit I was alcoholic. It was the fact I had difficulty admitting my life was unmanageable. I'd spent half my life in the bar business. I knew more about alcohol than most people. I just don't think right. I got paid to drink, so I kind of thought I was a professional drinker. The closest I ever came to being a social drinker was when the guy next to me said, "I'll have another drink." I'd say, "So shall I." Oh, it took a long time to admit I was an alcoholic, yes. But to truly adopt step one, I really struggled with being able to admit my life was unmanageable. Society teaches us to be self-sufficient. This is the exact opposite of what God teaches us. God wants us to rely upon Him. He wants us to have self-control, not self-sufficiency. We can become overwhelmed with our misinterpretation of the Bible. My grandma thought I should be either a lawyer or a preacher. Holy cow! I've been arrested 4 times and spent over half my life in a bar. I've been a pretty sick man. Through my years of alcoholism, I felt really out of place around the religious church folk. The Bible mentions people that are sick in James 5:14 and 15. Is any one of you sick? He should call the elders of the church to pray over him and anoint him with oil in the name of the Lord. And the prayer offered in faith will make the sick person well. The Lord will raise him up. If he has sinned, he will be forgiven. Before I could admit I was an alcoholic, their insistence that I was sinning was too strong. I began to doubt within myself that I had faith in him. Their solution was stuff like, just say no. Just say no? Just say no? That's like telling a homeless person, just get a house. I couldn't say no, I couldn't stop. Step one is about denial. Don't even notice I am lying. Who wants to admit defeat? Who wants to admit we are wrong? Who wants to admit failure? Who wants to admit we can't even trust ourselves? Probably the other guy, right? Certainly not me. But that's what step one is about, admission. We involve ourselves in a life and surroundings of people that over the years we've learned how these people have lied to us, cheated us, and scandalized us to the point of total distrust. Who wants to admit that? Addict. ADDICT. Admit drug-dominated individual, can't trust. We get to where we just don't want to hear it anymore. Loving family members will come to us as they get frustrated. Many of them will end up with issues of their own as a result. Codependency issues are generally initiated as a result of a problem with someone else, often drug addicts or alcoholics. Many substance abusers inherit or possess other mental addictions as well. Psalms 41:3. The Lord will sustain him on his sickbed and restore him from his bed of illness. Heavy drinking brings misery. Even the Bible agrees. Let's consider the sad picture of a drunkard. Proverbs 23:29 through 35. Who has woe? Who has sorrow? Who has strife? Who has complaints? Who has needless bruises? Who has bloodshot eyes? Those who linger over wine, who go to sample bowls of mixed wine. Do not gaze at wine when it is red, when it sparkles in the cup, when it goes down smoothly. In the end, it bites like a snake and poisons like a viper. Your eyes will see strange sights and your mind imagine confusing things. You will be like one sleeping on the high seas, lying on top of the rigging. They hit me, you will say, but I'm not hurt. They beat me, but I don't feel it. When will I wake up so I can find another drink? Many times I've heard preachers suggest all you need is the love of Christ in your heart. Christ is the healer. I firmly believe that. Therein is why I believe Alcoholics Anonymous and its 12 steps is definitely of the hand of God. Sometimes I think people have a hard time being able to accept both the Bible and the 12-step program. There's no question in my mind and in my heart, they're both of the hand of God. I accepted Christ into my life at the age of 13. I didn't start drinking until I was 19. I can remember many times of prayer right before I'd enter a bar because I needed His help. I needed His help throughout the entire 30 years of my drinking history. So I can't truthfully say I denounced my relationship with Him. It was always there. I just didn't live a life in accordance to how I knew He wanted me to live. Recovery is something that takes effort. A familiar slogan in a recovery program is, "Easy does it." Many can relate to that because we know how we felt when we first got here. We were scared. We knew we needed to recover. We felt like we needed to get recovered right away. So I can appreciate the term, "easy does it." But I have to be careful of that term for Dean. EASY. Every alcoholic says yes. Or every addict says yes. Easy doesn't do it for me. Hard does it. HARD. Helping another recovering drunk, or helping another recovering druggie. That's what keeps me clean and sober today. It's a natural instinct for us to look for the softer and easier way. I have to encourage us to work the 12-step program the way it was originally intended. The intent of the 12-step program is to teach us how to adapt to society. Each step is a new tool to add to your toolbox of recovery. As you learn to use the next tool, add it to your toolbox. When we accumulate all 12 tools, we carry our toolbox with us the rest of our lives. While we continue on in life's journey and we run into uneasiness or troubles, we'll know which tool to grab to repair ourselves. This is not a graduation from one step to the next. The recovery process must not end after the 12th step. We have the rest of our happy lives to enjoy.